Hi everyone, my name is Micah McLean and I'm the creator of Micah McLean Talks. Today you're watching my interview with Tim Wainwright, the Chief Executive of WaterAid UK. Please remember to like, share, subscribe and comment. I hope you enjoyed this interview. Thank you. It is a real honour to have you on the platform. You are the Chief Executive of WaterAid, so thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and thank you for inviting me.
So the first question I'd like to ask you is, please tell us about your early life, growing up and journey into becoming Chief Executive of WaterAid.
Oh, wow. Well, it'd be easy to say it was all planned, but it wasn't particularly. I guess from a relatively early age, I had a sense of wanting a career where I was doing something that was sort of contributing to greater good, and I was interested in the relationship with the wider world. There was a bit of my life, my childhood spent living in Asia, in Hong Kong, so I didn't entirely grow up in this country. And then, although I worked in the corporate sector, even then, I remember making that choice, thinking, I'll get some skills, but I want to apply them for not just for making money, but to help other people. So that was earlier on. And then I was lucky enough to work for a number of organizations that's really interesting roles. And then about 6.5 years ago, this role came up and I applied and I was very honored to be appointed. So, yeah, that's my journey.
Thank you so much for that. And even following on from that, since WaterAid was founded in 1981, it has provided more than 29 million people with clean water. Please tell us about the origin, reach and scope of WaterAid.
So we were started, you're right, what are we, middle-aged now, in our 40s. We were founded because water, sanitation and hygiene are these real fundamentals. Without them, you can't live a decent life. If you can't drink water that won't make you ill, if the water isn't accessible close to ideally in your home or close to your home, then typically women end up carrying it long distances, which is just really ridiculously unfair and such a waste of time and so on. So they're real fundamentals: water, sanitation, and hygiene. And WaterAid was founded to focus on that, to have an organization that didn't really exist at the time that had that focus and really understood that issue and how to find sort of long-term sustainable solutions. And so you asked about our scope. I mean, we're now the largest not-for-profit that works with this specialism in the world, working across sub-Saharan Africa, parts of South Asia, and a little bit in the Americas, typically in countries where either the absolute number of people is largest, where the largest number of people don't have access to water, sanitation, hygiene, or the percentage number that, so in some smaller countries we'll be working there because it's a very high percentage, it's like a large difference. And overall, the issue is a big one globally. There's still 700 million people without access to water, and although that number's lower than it used to be, which is great, more people have gained access to water. It's still a really big issue.
Thank you. And following on from that, to mark World Menstrual Day, WaterAid did a study on UK women. And it was that 85% of women feel stress and anxiety when it comes to managing their periods at work. Why did the WaterAid particularly focus on UK women for the study?
So as you know, the UK is not a country that's got lots of people without water, sanitation, hygiene. So we don't work in the UK. We work in poorer countries where there is a large number of people who don't have that basic human right. But the reason we were doing a survey of attitudes in the UK was partly to bring home to people, get a kind of relationship between women's experiences in this country and women's experiences in other countries where hygiene services maybe weren't so common. But the survey itself already also threw up the fact that there were already even issues in this country where we are relatively wealthy in this country. It shouldn't be there. So that's why we're doing it, to make the link. But and it's a really big priority for us in our work in Africa and Asia. That the fact that particularly, it's on my mind a lot that young adolescent girls in so many situations don't have access to hygiene to manage their periods, especially. Probably the thing that comes up most often is missing school as a result. And the studies have shown that girls are missing several days of schooling every month. And this is not good. So yeah, it's a big priority for us. And it's very, very inspiring when you meet those same teenage girls when they've got access at school, got great toilets, and the difference that makes to their lives.
Thank you so much. And following on from this, what can employers do to tackle some of the taboos and biases surrounding this topic while creating a safe and inclusive environment for working women?
Employers in the UK, you mean?
Yeah.
You're referring to, yeah. Oh, well, I'm not an expert on employment, but I would just say, as chief executive of an organisation, and we have quite a lot of staff in the UK, we give free period products to our staff. We see it as one of the things that we can do to, look after our staff, create an environment where they can be their best at work. So I guess I would commend it to any other organisation that wanted to, get the best out of their own employees.
All right, Dad.
Grace.
How did you first learn about periods? Was it today? This is the first time you heard of them?
No, I got an email yesterday.
What, say?
Yeah.
Is that the first time?
But I could definitely remember my sister. So what's Liz, 2 years younger than me? Could definitely remember her talking about periods, I think. And also tampons, being aware of tampons, I think. On the detail, I wouldn't know anything.
No, you still don't really know any of the details.
Not really, no. Did you know enough about menstruation before you had your first period?
No, I don't think so.
How old were you?
I was 14.
Oh wow, is that quite old?
Yeah, quite old, yeah. And also it wasn't like red blood, it was like dark brown. So I was like, this doesn't look, it looks more like poo than blood.
Right.
And I was like, no one told me about this. I thought it was gonna be like when you cut your hand, blood.
Right. So you didn't know enough?
No.
Okay, I'll blame you, Mum.
If you could say one thing about periods to your teenage self and your friends back then, what would it have been?
To me?
Yeah, to your male peers at school.
Maybe, yeah, just to sort of, it's part of life. Don't make jokes about it. Yeah. And also the menstrual cycle, presumably, it does have a mood effect.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. But usually when people say that, it's just because someone's like voicing their opinion or getting angry.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing that is really annoying. It's just when a woman is expressing emotion. That doesn't mean that she's at a certain part of a cycle. It's just because she's feeling something.
Did you and your friends talk regularly and openly about periods? I know the answer to this because I've learned more about periods. This is you and your friends talking openly about it than I've ever felt the need to be frank.
Yeah, but also I think once you've spoken about periods, it's like not much, like it's so normal that now it's just like, oh, I'm on my period, oh, I bled while having sex, or I bled, on an airplane once. I came on my period on an airplane, bled on the seat.
Why don't you say to the stewardess?
No, I was too embarrassed.
Oh, right.
Thank you so much for that. And even reading through the report and everything that you did, I found that really inspirational. So thank you for sharing that with us. Following on from that, a study by the charity identified droughts in Africa that have been becoming more frequent, intense, and widespread over the last 4 decades. Which continents present the most challenges from a political, environmental, and economical perspective in terms of water supply?
Well, it's where we're working, and so it's where we've chosen. We go to the places where things the provision has been the lowest. You know, the largest number of people, the largest percentage of people don't have access to water, sanitation, hygiene, and so that takes us to sub-Saharan Africa, and it takes us to South Asia. But you mentioned droughts, and I suppose, you know, it's climate change is presenting a big threat to the world. We all know that. Pretty much everywhere we work, we're starting to see big changes in weather patterns. And the way climate change affects the human race is mostly through water. So there's either too much of it, you're getting flooding and you're getting storms, or you're getting rising sea levels in coastal areas, or there's not enough and you have the droughts that you mentioned. And so what we're seeing in general terms is we're seeing more extremes. And so these countries who did the least to cause climate change, you know, they didn't pollute, they didn't emit nearly as much as places like the UK, Europe, America, and so on. They are feeling the brunt of it, and it's making supply of water more important, because how do you survive extreme heat if you don't have access to water? If you have flooding, you need access to water, you need access to good sanitation so that the flood waters don't get polluted, and so on. So the need for water, sanitation, and hygiene is greater. And also the fact that, for instance, you have a drought, it can mean that water sources dry up, so that the access to water is more difficult. So that's one of the big issues that we face for the future. And I think it makes it even more important that we try and get water, sanitation, and hygiene to everyone in a sustainable way. It's going to last, and it's been built mindful of the fact that weather patterns are changing.
Thank you so much for that. And following on for this, a bit more of a fun question. What are your hobbies outside of your role as a chief executive?
Well, my hobbies, did you say?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I enjoy walking. I enjoy the outdoors. I enjoy walking and hiking. Sometimes go on hiking holidays. I also like gardening. I have an allotment. I grow vegetables.
Okay.
And I sometimes sing in a choir, so I quite like that. So yeah, as well as spending time with my family, my wife, got a couple of daughters. So yeah.
And just on the choir, what type of choir do you sing in? Is it a rock choir? Is it a church choir? Just interested to know.
It's a sort of sings classical music. Yeah, mostly.
Oh,
and I live in Oxford, and that's where it is. Yeah.
oh, brilliant. And following on from this, what are your proudest achievements as chief executive of WaterAid?
Well, I think, you know, it's great when we manage to raise money for the work we do. It's great when we persuade people that, you know, water, sanitation, and hygiene is a big deal, and talk about it in the media or make it a priority in a policy document or something. But it's difficult to beat the feeling when you meet a community who have got access to water, sanitation, hygiene, and you start to meet the individuals who have benefited from the fabulous work that my colleagues on the front line of WaterAid's work in the countries in Africa and South Asia that we work in have done. Yeah, I mean, you know, like I'll give you an example. I met two young women in a madrasa in northern Bangladesh, who this, so madrasa is a religious school in Islamic school, big Islamic school for girls, and it had these new toilets which WaterAid had provided. And so I met these two girls. They were probably, 13, 14, 15, something like that. They were so inspiring. They were, one, she wanted to be a lawyer. The other wanted to be a doctor. They had plans. And we met in the girls' toilets, actually. They were really clean. They were really well laid out. It was a really pleasant place to be. And they said to me, we're so happy because it didn't used to be like this. But now we're coming to school every day of the month. In fact, when we go home, the toilet's not so nice. So we're telling our parents, can we do something about things at home? And then I turned to the governor from the local area, and he said that this was so good because the young women were staying in school, and staying in school in that area of the world is a very good strategy if you want to avoid very early marriage. So giving the young girls more opportunity for education, and maybe thinking about marriage a little bit later when they have kind of more agency and so on. So it was it was really, really great, a really great reminder of how it is. So those are the moments where I just feel, great pride and humility for the people, my colleagues who've made this happen, and for the organizations we work with, the school, the local NGOs, the local government. There are always many different pieces of the equation that need to be in place for these changes to be made, these good changes to be made, and then for them to be maintained.
Since 1981, we've been working with some of the world's poorest people, helping them to access safe water, good toilets, and improved hygiene. Today, 1 in 10 people are living without safe drinking water. 2/5 of the world's population don't have access to adequate toilets, and 2,000 children die every day from diarrhea. At WaterAid, we want to change this. We work with local organisations who really understand local problems and can provide communities with the technical knowledge they need to set up and manage life-changing projects. Helping people to access a safe and reliable supply of water is one of our top priorities, which is why we help to develop easy and affordable technologies like the rope pump.
In the past, I spent a lot of time fetching water. Sometimes I could even spend the whole day fetching only one bucket. But now this has changed. The water is easily accessible and it is good quality.
Rope pumps are just one of the ways that we can make a real difference in helping people to access clean water. But we can only ensure the success of this work if communities have access to toilets as well as water. Every year, 60 million children are born into households without access to toilets. This creates a great danger to their health. Just the simplest of solutions can make an enormous difference. In the village of Layaku, Nepal, WaterAid and our partners have helped the community to build their own composting toilets.
This is my toilet. This is where we defecate, into this pit. We use one pit for 6 months, then we close it and use this other one. When it comes out, it's safe to handle with your hands. I use it for growing vegetables, green leaves, fruits and plants. It's really good. It makes them grow quickly and it's free.
Many WaterAid projects start with hygiene education sessions, which help communities understand the importance of good hygiene practices such as hand washing. This makes people want to improve their water and toilet facilities.
I joined the group because I know it is a good thing. It will keep my family healthy.
It's essential to all our work that people are able to raise their voices and make changes for themselves. which is why WaterAid and our partners work closely with communities to make sure they know that water and toilets are their human rights. We also campaign locally, nationally and internationally to influence governments, ensuring that water and toilets are recognised as the first vital step in beating poverty. Water, toilets and improved hygiene, practical support and raising awareness. This is our integrated approach to tackling the spread of water-related diseases, giving back dignity, creating opportunities and bringing change for some of the world's poorest people. We've come a long way since 1981, and together we can do so much more. That's why we want you to get involved. Whether it's making a donation, doing a sponsored challenge, or getting your school or community to help us in any way they can. We need you to help us make a difference.
Thank you. And WaterAid today operates in about 27 countries to provide clean water, decent toilets and good hygiene. In your opinion, what are the greatest responsibilities, opportunities and challenges of being the chief executive of a charity with international humanitarian responsibility?
So my responsibilities, I mean, I think it's you want to keep, you have to keep things in balance. You have to keep the you can't spend all your time on one thing. You have to worry about everything, and you have to worry about what's going on today. But you also have to think about where you're going as an organization and if that is the right track, and you make adjustments if you think it's necessary. And you also have to think about the people that work for your organization and the culture of the organization, the values of the organization. So I think these are the things, and I find myself switching between them, you know. If I'm in one meeting, I'm thinking about, oh, this has happened, we need to think about it right now, you know, something to do today. Other times I'm involved in conversations about, you know, where do we want to be going, and what do we need to do to prepare for that. And also you need to be, your eyes need to be both inside the organization, but also outside the organization. So inside, you're thinking about, very basic things, you know, like the money and the budgets, the people, the tasks that are being completed and so on. Outside, you're looking at what's going on in the wider world and what's changing. Things have been changing a lot. And how do we need to react to that? And also, how do we show up in the outside world? And who do we need to engage with? Who do we need to partner with in order for the work we're trying to achieve to be successful? Because we can't do this. This isn't a problem that's solvable by any one organization. It's always about partnership with others. So I hope that gives you some sense of what I'm doing. Yeah.
It really does. And I think the difference between interviewing you and interviewing some of the other chief executives that I've interviewed is that WaterAid is a charity that has a worldwide responsibility, whereas the other two are more UK facing in children in need and the NSPCC. So there might be a lot of young people that might watch this and they might say, I want to be like Tim when I grow up. What advice would you give to young people that might aspire to follow in your footsteps in the years to come?
Oh, wow. I think, I think it's important as a young person to think about what you like and what you're good at, and try to find things where you have some natural ability, but you also enjoy it. Don't do things that you think are the right thing to do, but you don't like doing them. That's never works. So follow your heart, you know, do what you want to do. Don't be afraid to ask and ask and ask again for help. you know, don't be too shy. Don't be too shy. You can't. And I think as you get into the world of work, then sometimes it's good to have, especially if you find something worthwhile, to work at it for a little while and develop things. And then it can be quite good to stay in an organization, because sometimes if an organization is then, if you find the right place and they're valuing you and they're developing you, to then stay for a while and maybe broaden your own role within that organization before you move on to another. Don't be too impatient early in your career. And then, what else would I say? People matter so much. So the skills to work, the technical skills have a role, and the people skills have a role. So nurture both in yourself and learn both. When people appoint people to roles, they quite often will prioritize the people skills, because it's sometimes harder to learn than technical skills, which you can teach someone on the job. So it's really important to learn how to work well with others. And as you progress in life, be good to people, because you never know when you might need them. Don't treat others well. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. And WaterAid has the target of achieving safe water, sanitation, and hygiene for everyone everywhere by 2030. How will this be realized?
Well, it's as I said earlier, it's all about partnership. It's about the developing the capability of the institutions in these countries to deliver these services. So a lot of our work, we're working with local partners who are often, it might be a water utility working in a small town or a region of a country. And it's really important to work with them, to help them to deliver these vital services to everyone. And I think the everyone is very important. And sometimes will be maybe the wealthier people living in the area of a town which has the best services, and they are the easiest to serve. So we also do a lot of work to make sure that the people living in more rural areas or in poorer areas, like sometimes newly emerging towns, are also served. So that's the sort of mechanism that we employ. That's what we're trying to achieve, and it's really important to get the backing of the government, both nationally and locally, and ensuring there's enough finance for these organisations to deliver a service and maintain a service. Too often, water services, if they're not well maintained, they can break, and they can fall into disrepair. So it's really important they're maintained well as putting them in place in the first place. And of course, we engage with the community and make sure that the community are part of that process of maintenance and are holding the organisations that deliver services to account, making sure that services are actually delivered and so on. So these are some of the techniques that we use to try to make progress in this area of addressing this. And then what we do is we take these examples, and if they're when they're working, we show them to other people and say, look, this is how it can be done. And then we encourage many other organisations, other parts of the same country, to adopt these principles and then seek to get the approach repeated over and over again.
Thank you. And for all those watching this interview, how can they find out about more about WaterAid and donate to your cause?
They can look us up online. So just Google WaterAid, look for wateraid.org. You can donate money to us. There's ways to get involved through volunteering. You can be active. You can write to your MP about these issues. There's many different things. So just visit our website. The simplest thing of all is make a donation every month. That's what many people do, and we are incredibly grateful for it. We wouldn't be able to do what we do without the support we get from hundreds of thousands of people in the UK. So big thanks to them all. And thanks to you.
Oh, no problem at all.
Yeah.
The last question I'd like to ask is,
Sure.
What are some of WaterAid's key priorities for 2023 to 2024? If there was a couple of...
Yeah, sure. So a couple of key things we're doing over the next year. We developed a new strategy. We're implementing it across the world. I think key priorities are, delivering some work in specific places, using it to demonstrate what can be done, and then trying to get that replication. We're doing a lot of work on climate change because, of course, adapting, becoming resilient to climate change is mostly about making sure that you have access to it's mostly water issues, and especially ensuring a safe supply of water that will be resilient to climate change in the future. Also working on the relationship between what we do and health. So it's just obvious, isn't it, that water, sanitation, hygiene are absolutely fundamental for living a healthy life. So making sure that these issues are included in health agendas. And then finally, we're doing quite a bit of work to try to encourage more finance for the whole water sector. So this isn't finance for WaterAid, it's finance for the whole sector. So we do this mixture overall of some very practical work on the ground, working with partners, and then creating environments where we can leave so that the work carries on. And it's, that's what we're after. We're after a world that doesn't need WaterAid. And then we also do some wider influencing that can help these things be replicated on a wider scale.
Thank you so much, Tim, for such a great interview. I really enjoyed interviewing you, and just thank you for being a great guest.
Thank you so much. It was a delight to meet you. I hope I meet you in person at some point. And good luck with your podcast series.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
A global promise was made for everyone, everywhere, to have sustainable, safe water, decent toilets, and good hygiene by the end of this decade. Billions have gained water and toilets, but progress is too slow. This is unacceptable, unnecessary, and unjust. Imagine a world where no woman is forced to waste her time walking and queuing for hours to collect water, where no girl is excluded from a better future because her school doesn't have toilets that work and lock, where no community is held back by an endless cycle of sickness from dirty water supplies and poor hygiene, where no one lives in fear that a changing climate will mean a thirsty tomorrow. We are WaterAid, and we exist for that purpose alone. Change is possible, and the time for change is now. We are calling on governments, the private sector, and people who can use their power to deliver change to join us and create a monumental shift in ambition and approach. We know it can be done together. We will work with partners to transform water, sanitation and hygiene services for entire districts and towns. We will leverage this progress to catalyze wider change beyond where we work. We will show that clean water, decent toilets and good hygiene are human rights that unlock better futures for everyone, especially women and girls. Together with our partners, allies and supporters, we will work with determination and urgency towards our vision. A world where WaterAid no longer needs to exist.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for watching this interview. Please remember to like, share, subscribe and comment, and I'll be back very soon with another interview on the Micah McLean Talks YouTube channel.